Hey, Ecamm fam, good morning, good evening, good lunchtime, whatever it is, wherever you are, welcome to sunny Edinburgh and me playing about with green screen. So what have I done here? I went into Photoshop and used generative AI and asked it to produce me a modern, slick looking reception for an office, and this is what it came up with. So I wondered what I could do by playing about with this office. So the first thing that I had done is actually put this onto my iPad. So it's just a picture on my iPad in Keynote. And then I have connected my iPad to Ecamm using a cam link. And now what you're seeing behind me is actually not Keynote, or it is Keynote really, but actually what it is a camera. So if I switch off camera B, behind me there is nothing, and now I bring on camera B. So camera B is on my iPad coming in via a cam link. Why have I done that? That allows me to use the camera controls on my background, which some people might think is a little bit mad, but it allows me to do all sorts of different things. But to start with, what I'm going to do with this image is I'm going to drop in my fade in the background. Now, if you remember from my previous video, all that was a square covering the whole screen with a gradient going from white to kind of grey, a dark grey colour. And I put that over the top of the camera. So if I now bring that on, what you can see straight away is that the side here is much darker and the side here is much lighter because the fade runs from one side to another. Now I can choose different blend modes for that fade and it will have quite a significant effect as well. So let's just turn the fade off again. So you can see it looks quite flat like that, but by bringing it in here, I've created a sort of a darker side where my face is darker and also kept the light where my face is bright as well. So that kind of a bit of a trick of the eye. But now what I'm going to do is I am going to go to the camera settings, because if you remember, as I said, what this is a camera in the background. So let's just do something silly to start off with, and we'll turn it black and white. So I can change my camera to black and white. I can change my camera to sepia if I want to do so. So there's sepia there. Turn that back off again. Obviously I'm not going to do that, but what I can also do is use all the other camera controls as well. So if I want the room to be darker, I can just turn the brightness down on the camera, or I can bring it right up if it's early in the morning or something like that. So let's just reset that one. I can also use tints and things like that as well. I'm probably not going to use tints and saturation, but I could bring the gamma up or down, which kind of has quite a nice effect on the background. I'm liking the sort of colours there that's going on with the gamma, but I'm just going to reset that also and show you what the other elements can do. So temperature would be one of them. So a good idea to match the temperature with the temperature of me. So by tweaking the temperature up a little bit, I've warmed up the background, and because I'm looking quite warm at the moment, then we start to get a bit of a match. And I can also bring on the blur effect on the camera. So again, this is just using the camera controls. So camera can be super blurred if I really wanted it to be, or just a little bit blurred to give a sort of a slightly bokeh effect. The other thing that you can do, because it's camera controls, is I could bring in a LUT as well. So I have a LUT on my camera here. So my camera A, which is me, has got a LUT applied to it. I can also apply the LUT to the background. So by matching effectively the LUT on the camera, which is me, with the LUT in the background, I start to get a much more believable effect. So if I take that LUT right up, you'll see the effect of it right up. So that's the LUT right up and not matching me at all. That's no LUT at all. But if I bring the LUT back up to roughly match my LUT on my camera, then what I'm getting is an effect where the camera is matching my background. So that's me bringing in stuff like that. And then I guess I could bring in some slideware or something like that along with my presentation. Now, for me, this bit background isn't still quite good enough. I'd like to see a bit of light and a bit of movement in the background, but that's kind of step one. What I'm going to do now is just pause this and move on to the next slide in my deck on my Keynote, which is a different background, and we'll just have a play about with a different background. So bear with me, because the iPad is sitting down on the ground here, so that wouldn't look very professional. So I'll come back in a minute and show you what that looks like. Actually, I changed my mind slightly, because there's one other thing in cameras which I didn't mention that you can do if you really want to, and that's the ability to zoom. So I can zoom and pan around my background as well. So if I decided that this looked proportionally incorrect, then I could potentially zoom in and then move my background about to somewhere that I felt looked a little better or suited better. So obviously that's wrong. That's a little better. Probably zoomed in a bit too much, but I can move things around with the camera as well. So I might want to play about with that, or take it back off again and go to the original settings. So zoom and pan, another thing that you can do with your camera. Now I will move on to the next slide. Bear with me. So here's another office space, and this is really to demonstrate how you can get it wrong, really. So for a start, I've got kind of a monitor sticking out behind my head. The colours are very bright here on this, but I could darken it down, I guess, if I wanted to. But actually the sort of digital zoom might help out on this particular image. So I zoom it around a bit and move things left and right to see if I can make that slightly less obvious. Now, for me, it still doesn't really work, so I probably wouldn't have this image at all. And the other thing about it is it's totally flat. There's no depth of field on this image. So there's one that possibly you shouldn't use. Let's go and have a look at a couple of other ones that I've got on the iPad. So next slide, please. So here's another one. Time for something completely different. And this is a blurred image to start with. So it starts off blurred anyway, and it kind of matches the images that I have on my LinkedIn profile. At least I did until a couple of days ago when my profile got hacked, but hopefully it will be back sooner or later, and this kind of matches in a little bit with that. But again, it's coming in as a camera, so I can play about with the camera settings. So for instance, I could make it even more blurred, but I don't think I need to do that. But I can bring in my LUT again, and that's slightly changing the color of the background to more or less match me. So that's definitely looking a little bit better. And on this one, maybe I could stick a bit of gamma in as well if I wanted to do that. And it's just to get a totally different look and feel to the background. Now, people know it's not real, so it doesn't really matter too much. And I can also play with some of the other settings. I guess what I could do, again, I could make my background black and white or something like that. But, you know, this doesn't look too bad like that, I don't think, actually. As a sitting background, not doing too much, make it a bit brighter, a bit lighter. You're just playing about with it a bit. And then if I bring in potentially my slideware, then that's kind of standing out against that background. So just another different option, again, playing about with the camera in the background, and we'll go and have a look at another one in a second or two. So here's yet another one. So this has got good depth of field to it, and again it's got the lights from the window here, so my face is kind of looking quite nicely lit. And what I've also got is a little bit of movement in the background. If you look directly above me at the lights here, you'll see I've added a little bit of movement in the background there, using again just these flickering candle effects from Envato Elements, and then putting them into the light shades. Now on this particular one, I'm definitely going to want a bit more blur in the background, so let's blur that out a bit. And in this particular case, I think what I could do is make it quite a bit darker by adding in some gamma. So I'm just upping the gamma there. I could then try and match it with my LUT again. So I'm starting to bring up the LUT a little bit to match my colouring with that colouring, and maybe then bring up the temperature a little bit, or play about with the temperature till I feel that the temperature is looking correct for me versus the background. So that's definitely just playing about with it a bit. Bring the gamma down again. bring it up again, make it a little darker in the background. So these are all the camera controls, and so you can play about with them. And again, I could zoom that in or out and pan it about until I felt that that was looking correct. So here it's obviously not looking correct. I much prefer that slightly more zoomed in to get me proportionally sitting better with the background there. So now I've got two elements sort of jumping out, or rather disappearing into the background, and me standing out quite a bit. I don't quite like that. It's not quite right for me. But let's have a play about and just make that black and white for a change. Yeah, that's quite an interesting sort of look and feel. And again, I think that if I start to bring on my slideware, then that's going to stand out quite a lot. And so I'm standing out, my slides are standing out, and the background becomes just that, just a background. And you've still got a little bit of flickering light going on in the background. So again, a different look and feel, all in green screen, all in the same place. Let's see if I've got anything else. Okay, so here's another one I was playing about with. So this is just running as Keynote on my iPad. So I actually created a little video and then dropped it into Keynote and put it into my iPad. So the video was created on Ecamm in the first place. Now this is kind of the opposite way round colouring wise for my face, and there's not much I can do about that, but let's have a play about with that fade there and move that the other way round. So what I'm doing with the fade is I've now made the side furthest away from me a bit darker and the side closest to me a bit lighter. Now I really want to change my lighting around as well now, so that the light, my keynote light is facing on the other side of my face. I want it over here really, but I can't do that easily where I'm sitting at the moment. But I'm definitely going to want to zoom and pan this image a little bit. Not that much though, because I think what I want to do is just see if I can zoom it in a little bit more and then bring the window in, and then me a bit more like that. Now I don't like the fact that I've got the light flickering directly behind me, but it's proportionally definitely a little bit better. So let's just make that again, play about with some of the settings. Let's bring in the LUT to start with. So the LUT immediately is starting to match the background a bit better with me. I think that needs to be a little bit more up on temperature as well. And we'll also then play about with the gamma. So again, it's just about playing about and positioning yourself and whatever you want to do. That one's not working particularly great, but let's go have a look at something that perhaps I did a little bit earlier on. And these are more of the ones that I was doing yesterday or the day before, or was it? But I don't know, it might only have been Friday. But these are the other ones that I was playing about with. And here's one with me and my guest. So let me get rid of one of my guests anyway. So it's just me. And let's see if I'm unlocked. I'm not. So move myself over to here on the image. And what I've done on this particular one, again, tricks from yesterday or the day before. If you look very carefully on the bridge in the center there's a couple of flickering candles effects, and they are basically reflecting into the river in front of them, and I've got my clouds moving over on the top. So this is where I could get to if I want to, and again I could bring in my slide deck, except for I've just realized it's not on this scene. But anyway, some more hints and tips and playing about with green screen, a little bit unusual by bringing things in on your iPad to give you the camera controls. You don't have to have them on an expensive iPad. It can just be a cheap iPad, anything that could do Keynote, or a cheap MacBook Air, whatever you've got lying about that can do Keynote or play a video in the background, or slides in the background. So anything would do. And you don't need to leave it permanently connected either. Once you've got the look and the feel that you want, you can either capture the still image if it's just a still image, or you could just disappear off screen in the other direction, and then make a little video of what's going on the screen, and then use the video as your background, so you've not got an iPad permanently connected. But for me, it gives me another option to play about with all of the settings using camera controls and a combination of overlays and blend modes. So there you go, that's it for today. Cheerio from sunny Edinburgh.